Welcome back to Cooking with Canines at Old Tavern Farm. It is almost August and I've had a lot of people asking me if I can help them with their basil pesto, a recipe for basil pesto. There's not actually a real recipe for me. I'm sure there is a real recipe out there somewhere and probably many places, but for me, I am just trying to preserve my harvest. So I try to use as much as I can, get it put up in whatever jars I have, bags, anything, and just try to get it all in one lump sum. So I'm using my brand new Cuisinart that I just got at Walmart. It was the only place that had food processors left. My tried and true Cuisinart has a broken part on it. It's one of the safety mechanisms and it won't work without it. So Cuisinart, like many shipping segments of our country right now or the world, is taking a little longer to ship their things. So it's fine. It actually allowed me to try this new sort of downgraded model. It's just a $99 model from the big box store. And it actually works great. I'm really liking it. It's a little less complicated than the fancy model. And I'm able to feed things through the chute without stopping and putting the safety on and all of that. So anyway, that aside. So we're gonna make basil pesto today. Now, I do lots of different herb pestos because when you're drying herbs, it changes the flavor. You can certainly dry them, and I do dry a lot of my herbs, but it changes the flavor and the texture. It really changes the flavor. That's the biggest thing. So without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and start. I have made a batch ahead. As you can see, it's I've already scraped out a batch. But I wanted to show you this cute little trick. A lot of people will say, oh my gosh, can I get chopped, jarred garlic? And sure, you can, but it really downgrades the nutritional components to garlic, and garlic is really packed with nutrients, and just, you can read about it yourself, but it's great stuff. It's good for your heart, it's good for everything. So yes, you can use powdered, granulated, jarred, chopped jarred, but I prefer to use fresh. So because it also preserves the garlic through the year, so you can use this in pastas, on bruschetta, you can use it on pizza, you can use it in your pizza sauce, your spaghetti sauce, your bolognese, any of that stuff. You can take some of this pesto and add it to those sauces, and then you've already got all your aromatics in there. You don't have to add them. It just sort of saves the stuff. So what I do is I just take my garlic and I crush it down like this. Okay, so it's in a pile. Of course you can't see because my technical ability, but you just take this and you put it in a little dish like this, and then I'm going to over to the stove. You're in the back. And I am going to pour boiling water over, like so. Okay, and let me put this back. Then the boiling water will release the skins from the cloves in about a minute, less than a minute, and they'll come right off and they'll just be nice and clean like this. So I'm going to use some that I have already done ahead. I'm going to set that aside. I am going to, oh, that's my cow. I was like, what is that noise? Oh. So I'm going to start. I'm going to latch my lid. I'm going to just add my garlic right into the chute, and I'm going to put it on high. I have high and lows. I don't have anything in between. All right, here we go. All right. So when you start with your garlic, that means you're not going to have any big giant lumps in there. And when you go to use your pesto, you're not going to have a big chunk of garlic that got lost in the sauce. So start with your garlic and mince that up really well. Then I'm going to take walnuts, and I love walnuts. A lot of traditional recipes will say use pine nuts is very classic, but pine nuts are expensive, and I don't really have access to them in my region unless I go to a fancy store, and that's not what my life is about. If you want fancy pine nuts, by all means, help yourself. So I'm going to add walnuts, and walnuts have great nutrition too, lots of omega-3s. All right, here we go. It's going to be loud, so plug your ears. Okay, so basically the garlic and the walnuts are all minced down, and then I'm going to take a little bit of salt. Just add that right too. And I'm gonna go over here and get my basil. Now when I make herb pestos, I basically run it and then I stop it and I add more and I run it and I add more and I run it and I add more. So you can do as you like. Again, there's no recipe from me for basil pesto, or really any other kind of pesto. But you'll see what I mean in just a minute. So I just add a handful of basil in there, put it on, let it run. I'm gonna add just a little splash of lemon juice. Okay, when it stops, hangs up like that, it just means that it's stuck in the hopper somewhere. Just stop it. All right. So now we're gonna add olive oil. Okay, now that's my first iteration. I'm gonna kind of lift this up and show you. So you could stop there and use it fresh if you like, but I like to get as much herb in there as I can because again, I'm preserving. So I'm gonna stop that. And then I'm going to keep adding. Try and mash it down in there because, again, it gets caught in the little door thingy right here, or the little hatch, whatever that is. I'll just kind of mash it down. Basil leaf's gonna go everywhere. It's fine. All right, so line that up again. There we go. Keep spinning it. Add a little more olive oil. There's a piece hung up in there. Okay, so I'm gonna the last component of basil pesto, classical basil pesto, or at least Old Tavern Farm basil pesto, is Parmesan. Now, you can use fresh Parmesan, you can use shredded Parmesan. I like just the grated jarred Parmesan because it's just, you don't need it to be fancy. You're not really looking at it as part of the sauce, and it'll melt just as well as shredded. But by all means, use what you have, use what you like, and just make it your own. So I'm gonna just knock this back, and I'm gonna add to this kind of quantity, which I've got about 2 cups in here. So I guess this is about as much as a recipe as you're gonna get from me. That's about a half a cup or so. I've got a chunk in there, so it's holding up the rest of the flow there. So that's about a half a cup. I'm gonna put my lid back on. Okay, so you get the idea. You can keep adding more and more and more, all you want. I'm gonna take some of this out and show you. I basically use jars that I have saved from regular household usage. This happens to be salsa jar. And then I freeze these. I do not can these. I do freeze them because I want the fresh garden flavors to come through in February or whenever I choose to have them. And I just find there's no need to use the canning jars for this because you're not actually canning. But I also do use these great zip top bags, and then I'll just freeze them flat like so. And that does really well too. Sometimes I've used ice cube trays in the past, and then I just have little blocks of pesto. It all works. So I just use my wide canning jar funnel here. I just pop this off. I'm just gonna scoop. Now I know some of you guys out there have seen the little tiny jars of basil pesto in the store that are like $5, $6, $7 for a tiny like 4-ounce jar. So we're not doing that here. We bang it down. We are doing as much processing and harvesting and saving as we can for the least amount of money, for the biggest bang for our buck, all that stuff. So right here you have a, what is this? Oh, 15-ounce jar. That's 1 pound, right? Well, 16 ounces is a pound, but more or less, it's a pound. I just take the lid that I've also saved, put it right on there, label it, and put it in the freezer. And pennies. I mean, I can't even, I don't know, maybe like 10 cents for like a huge pound of cilantro or basil pesto. I also do the same technique with chives. Now there's nothing in here but chives and a little lemon juice and a little olive oil. I didn't put nuts or cheese in there. And then I also do it with cilantro. So this cilantro I put up May 7th, and it's still cilantro-y. So when I decide to make curry or any kind of sort of Latin dish, anything that uses cilantro. So I have that fresh cilantro flavor that you can't get from drying it. So I'm gonna go back here to the, just for fun, back here to my, and it's hot, so I use like a little slotted spoon. And you just basically let this, the garlics hang out in there. And then you just take, and it just, the skin just peels right off. It slides right out of those skins. Okay, so instead of having to crush things and like work to peel, I use one of those twisty, tubey, whatever those things are that you see in the expensive kitchen catalogs. I won't mention any names, but I do love them. Anyway, you can do it yourself with boiling water. No big deal. So go make your own basil pesto. Make it your own. Put in what you like. If you like almonds, use almonds. If you don't like nuts or you're allergic, leave them out. If you want to put Romano cheese or like a sheep's milk type of hard cheese, hard grated cheese, try that. Just experiment. But get out in the garden and get your pesto all lined up. Check all your plants. I did post a video just before this one to show you how to harvest your basil. So that's out there. And I just want to thank you for stopping by. So big hugs. Hug, hug, hug. Thanks for stopping by. Bye-bye.